Well, it has been a while. This is going to be a bit different, as you can probably tell from not being sat in front of a bookcase. Don't know where to start really. That outside thing is probably just in an attempt to feel a bit more relaxed and not so contrived. I think I've probably mentioned before in some other videos that I'm a tradesman, not particularly specialised tradesman, but and we don't earn particularly a lot, but we work hard and we've never claimed any kind of benefit or welfare ever. Not because not as a matter of principle necessarily, just because we've been in one respect I suppose fortunate enough not to be in that kind of circumstance, but also by our own making from working hard, never being out of work. So we've never sort of claimed any benefits. Barely been ill in my entire life. Can't remember the last time I used the NHS or anything of the sort. So that being the picture, we don't earn much. In fact, we barely earn enough to pay tax. But we work hard and we're surviving. In the best assessment of the situation is we're surviving. We're not living a life of luxury. Far from it. And so the situation with the migrant situation, particularly the illegal migrant situation, has always been really frustrating because you see what appears to be your government prioritising everyone else over their citizens. Of course, it's frustrating. So I had this last week. We were working next town over from us, and I had to go out to get some materials for the job. And I think there's 3 migrant hotels in the particular town we were working in, and I knew I was driving past one of them, by the by. But it was hot last week, and we've been racing around trying to get this job done. And I had to run out to get some more materials, and driving past this particular migrant hotel, there was a bunch of maybe 5 or 6 guys just sat out the steps at the front, shirtless, just in shorts, trainers. A couple of them were smoking, a couple of them were having something to eat, dicking about on their phones, having a good old time, sitting in the sun, laughing and joking together. And I'm like, what am I doing? That's what comes to mind. Why? It has before as well, but on this particular occasion, why am I bothering? And it's not that I'm work shy or I'm looking to just kind of sponge off the government. Like I said, we never have. I would always choose not to, but you see that, and we're working our asses off and just about getting by, and then there's these guys just living the life of Riley, really. And I know people who may defend their position would sort of jump up and say, well, you can't blame them. If you were offered everything on a plate, you would take it too. And actually, I don't think I would, to be honest. I think you can blame them to some degree, because they're not coming here to work, are they? And you say, oh, they're not allowed to work, but come on. The incentive, the draw is they're getting free everything. So yeah, that was annoying. And then I was thinking about this, the figure I've heard sort of bandied around a little bit lately by quite a few different sort of commentators and in interviews of I think it's like £40,000 a year to support an illegal migrant. And so I thought I'd look to see where that figure came from, and it's 2023-24 figure published by the think tank, the Institute for Public Policy Research, I think, and supposedly an independent think tank, but I can't cast shade on them necessarily because I didn't look particularly much into their funding, but I did see they're funded to some degree from pharmaceutical companies and the government. I think it's a small amount of their funding, but it's still part of it. So, but yeah, this £40,000 a year figure, I'm thinking, how is it £40,000 a year? I'm living on barely 15. And according to the think tank, it's accommodation, so hotels at that time, and sustenance, so food, clothes, but it doesn't even include medical costs, so it's not the NHS, it's not dental. 40 grand a year, be nice, wouldn't it? But they're saying because of the high costs of hotels, and in doing a bit of digging, they're saying, if today the equivalent in 2026 would be, be significantly less. It'd be probably more like sort of 35,000. I'm like, oh no, 35,000. How will they cope? So yeah, it did annoy me. And like I said, I do actually think you can blame them to some degree, because they're coming, knowing full well they're coming to get whatever they can for nothing. But also, of course, significantly and largely, the government are the ones giving it to them, which is. But what can you do? Someone might say, "Oh well, you can't blame them. You've got to address it with the government." But what address do we have? What agency do I have to address that with the government? None. Oh, the ballot box. Oh yeah, sure, the ballot box. Like for the last 20 years, the ballot box, when we've consistently said less immigration and consistently got just, I was going to swear then, absolute crap ton more. So that don't work, does it? So what can you do? What can you do? Nothing. So it's unsurprising that I'm not exactly feeling particularly motivated. I've been feeling pretty rubbish the last couple of weeks about work, because I don't really feel like going to work, to be honest. And not because I'm lazy. Like I said, I'm definitely not work shy. I work bloody hard, but so yeah, just wanted to have a moan, really. I don't feel like there's any other. What other option is there to kind of put something out there, so at least I feel like I'm not just sitting on it. Yeah. As a side note, I see Rupert Lowe put out a invitation to Nigel to sort of build some bridges, collaborate, unite the right, so to speak, and just kind of put the country first, which is amazing actually, because I was wondering, I don't know, I hold Rupert Lowe in very high regard. Actually, seems like a man with a lot of integrity, but even so, considering the circumstances of which he was ejected from Reform, I was wondering if he'd get there, if he'd get to that point of sort of saying, right, putting all that aside, we need to put the country first. So I'm very impressed that sadly I just can't imagine Nigel being receptive to that. He'll probably go on about he can't accept the conditions that Rupert's putting down, but you listen to that, you listen to Rupert's sort of 7-minute or so talk, I think it was, and I don't see how any sensible sort of objective person could pick holes in anything much that he had to say, or anything he had to say from my point of view, but I think that will be the thing that Nigel will use as an excuse not to build bridges, because he'll just kind of, I'm pretty sure he'll sort of say he can't start any negotiations or anything like that from a position of being made demands of, or something like that. And also, we know he's not interested in mass deportations. That's the reason he kicked Rupert out in the first place, so clearly he's not going to be interested in that. So there we are, but let's see what excuse he comes up with as to why it's not happening. I'm definitely not on the footpath anymore. Maybe I'll cut through there. I forgot the microphone. I'll bring it next time. Hopefully the sound's not too bad, but it is a bit windy, so it's probably going to be pretty rubbish. I'm pretty sure I have said before that I knocked my tooth out skateboarding. In case I haven't, or in case you didn't know, like anyone's watching. Yeah, I knocked my tooth out about a year ago skateboarding. Very attractive. I am going to get it fixed, but again, it's going to cost me $2,500 to get one tooth fixed, so I'm going to need to get a ferry over to France and then come back on a dinghy. Get it done for nothing. I was going to say something, I won't. But yeah. Funnily enough, I was talking to someone, because obviously you're going to get, if you push back on any of this, you're going to get the race card at some point thrown at you. And actually, couldn't care less what skin colour, race you are. I do care that you're from a culture that has very different views on treating women and girls. Yeah, that's a problem. It's not racist to say that, that's a problem. If you don't think that's a problem, then you may be part of the problem. But, you know, you could be from anywhere. You could be actual illegal migrants from France, French nationals, sharing a similar culture. I wouldn't really care, to be honest. You're still sucking resources out of our country that could be spent elsewhere, and that's a problem. Well, if you did listen, if the sound was even worth me making a video, thanks. And if I carry on doing more like this, then there will be a next one, so I will see you in the next one.